Rabbit Hole Roundup, Episode 90, 160-second game madness, METS collapse. So guys, in today's edition of the Rabbit Hole Roundup, I'm going to be starting with a fun conversation that I came up with in the rap world, which is, what are the 5 best Lil Wayne rap verses / songs? So I would hope that we all know by now, that real G's moving silence like lasagna, but what are some of his other best lyrical creations? I'm going to be opening up that conversation to you guys as well, so you guys are going to have to help me out with that too. Also in the rap world, shout out to Chris Webby on his 88 MGs album, or LP, I'm not sure what it was exactly, but he absolutely crushed that. Chris Webby's so underrated, his songs are absolute fire. Then I talk a bit about the new Charlie Sheen documentary called AKA Charlie Sheen.
I lit the fuse, and my life turns into everything it wasn't supposed to be.
And I did have a video come out a few days ago on the Jared and James channel, where I did a full-on deep dive and all the lessons that we can learn from that documentary, and from Charlie's life. But my main focus in this is going to be about how a life without consequences isn't actually a good thing, and I believe that God in the universe keeps a tab on all of our choices and all of our actions, so you're always going to have to face the consequences at one point or another. Then I bring up a clip coming from Alan Stein, NBA trainer, where he says how Steve Nash, my all-time favorite player, once gave it 239 high-fives in an NBA game, and why it's proven that positive energy leads to wins, and it's actually contagious too, and it helps with better performance. After that, I have a really powerful clip coming from rapper Master P on what keeps him going at 50 plus years old, and I tie this into having love for the game, and love for what you do and knowing your purpose. Then just before this week's sports recap, I have a bonus topic that I'm probably not going to be clipping up, because I don't want to deal with it possibly getting taken down, which used to happen often to me, but I do have strong beliefs on this topic, and hey, you can take it or leave it, and I'm all for live and let live. Anyway, sorry for the vagueness behind it, you guys are going to have to watch to see that. And finally, I give my NFL Week 4 recap, and MLB coverage as the regular season comes to an end, and we enter the playoffs. Anyways, without further ado, let's dive deeper now, rabbit hole time, let's go.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys know that must mean not subscribe to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts in the video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys have done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through It by Jared Weiss. All links purchased on my website was jaredryanweiss.com. It's JAREDRYANWEISS.com. Buy the book, support me, and make sure to check out all the awesome shirts in there as well. Every shirt is made of 100% organic cotton. Every shirt has been designed by me, yours truly. So any support at all is very much appreciated, as I'm always saying. Let's dive deep into this rabbit hole now. So first up, going along with some of the music topics I've been getting into recently, and the whole best rappers conversation that I opened up, I thought of another fun topic, which is what are Lil Wayne's 5 best verses / songs of his. So Lil Wayne did actually make it into my top 5 rappers of all time list, because his lyrical ability is absolutely unreal. His lyrics are often super clever and funny as well. So in my opinion, Lil Wayne's 5 best verses / rap songs are 6 Foot, 7 Foot, I'm Going In, A Millie, We Taking Over, and Look At Me Now, with honorable mentions being No Love and The Motto. So to be clear and to get this out of the way, I know that this will generate some controversy, and people who are going to be telling me all the songs and verses that I missed. So let's open up the conversation to you guys. What do you guys think? But now let's dive deeper into the songs that I mentioned. Which, in case you guys didn't know by now, I don't curse. So doing this might be tough, but let's try to take a deeper look at these lyrics and do so as clean as possible. So first up, some of the best lines from 6 Foot, 7 Foot are, so misunderstood but what's the world without enigma, two bees at the same time synchronized swimmers. Then of course later on we have, paper chasing toilet paper looking right behind you, real G's moving silence like lasagna. Ooh, genius. Then we have the song I'm Going In. So Wayne starts the song as the opener, just before Drake and Jeezy come in, and Lil Wayne comes out firing. Stomping on this beat like a mother effing Sigma. Bad to the gristle, hat to the ristle, I'm so official all I need is a whistle. Whew, absolute fire. Then we have A Millie, in verse 2, which has my favorite line, is where Wayne goes, he's a beast, he's a dog, he's the mother effing problem, okay you're a goon but what's a goon to a goblin. Number 4 we have We Taking Over, which is one of the best rap songs of all time in my opinion. And so I actually saw a clip recently where Fat Joe was talking about this verse and how Khaled was asking him if Wayne should be on it too. And Fat Joe originally thought he had the best verse by far, that is until Wayne came on. So first I'm going to see if I can find the clip.
I'll tell you one Lil Wayne story. We do the taking over with Khaled. I thought I had everybody. But when you see crack, better duck like the Mac, gotta eat fast. Then what say, I don't give a fuck, I run it. I thought I had everybody on that. I heard everybody's verse. No, I don't think that all the time. I'm not.
Not for sure.
I'm not
But you always
delusional.
Yeah.
No, I don't always think
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I don't think I'm the best. I make anthems. It is what it is. But that one record, I thought I had him, Kiss. And I go with Khaled. He says, yo, come with me. Let's convince Wayne to get on this record. I said, no problem. We play it for Wayne. Wayne is in the studio. He's not even in the big studio. He's upstairs in the Hit Factory, but upstairs, he got a room with just the whole shit of speakers. And he's up in there and he plays the shit. And he's staring at the speakers. They crank it up. He goes, I am the beast.
Feed me rappers and feed me beats. I'm untamed, I need a leash. I'm insane, I need a shrink. I love brain, I need a leech. Why complain on easy streets?
I said, motherfucker, why did I bring Khaled over here? Beg this motherfucker to get on this record. Like I begged him. I am a beast. Feed me hip hop or feed me beats. I'm on Rapped on DJ Street. Why relax on Easy Street? I was like, nigga's crazy. I walk out of that fucking studio dizzy by it. You're thinking, oh yeah, Joe, you know you gotta feel like you the best. No, I walked out of them stairs
Like fuck.
knowing I got destroyed on that shit.
In my wrist, my chapeau, but the mule is cute.
So as Fat Joe just said, Wayne goes, I am the beast. Feed me rappers or feed me beats. I'm untamed, I need a leash. I'm insane, I need a shrink. And then also, I have more jewels than your jeweler. So he absolutely kills that verse. And finally, Look at Me Now, which although Busta Rhymes won that song, Wayne's verse was amazing on that too. And he didn't fall too far behind in my opinion. So I do think there's too many curses in that song and in that verse, where if I try to say it without them, I'm probably going to ruin it. And anyways, another favorite line of mine from Lil Wayne is coming from No Love, where he says, you can keep knocking, but won't knock me down. No love lost, no love found. Dang, Lil Wayne is an absolute legend. So let me know if I got this right or wrong. Next, but I want to talk a bit about the whole aka Charlie Sheen documentary, which I watched a few days ago. And I also did in fact put out a video a few days ago, a whole video on the Jared and James channel, talking about all the lessons that we could learn from that documentary and from Charlie Sheen's life. Because I'm someone who believes that we should be learning from everyone. The mistakes, successes, failures, etc. But this was super heavy, and you could see not only the pain that Charlie himself went through, but also what his actions put his family and friends through.
I can't imagine being my dad. It's gonna really hurt the people I love.
And I really hope for his sake he continues healing and making amends with his life and staying sober as he has for the past 8 years, which is of course a massive accomplishment. So my biggest takeaway from this was that a life without consequences isn't actually a good thing. As we saw with Charlie, whenever he would drink to excess and do all these harmful drugs, which of course led to so many poor actions, and yet he'd be getting paid more, and later on he was getting interviewed all over the place. So initially he took this to mean that he could keep on acting this way, but this is of course what led to him almost losing his life, and his family too.
The whole world goes, he's the f***ing guy. Imagine what that did to my head.
And as he said, which was really powerful, when you trade your family for drugs, you end up with just the drugs. So as hard as it can be, when you or I am doing everything right, or trying so hard to, and you see other people skating by with seemingly no consequences for all of their bad actions, it doesn't make sense and doesn't feel fair.
Why should he get to ditch when everybody else has to go?
But as I spoke more in depth about on the video on the Jared and James channel, I believe that God in the universe keeps a tab. So even if you don't face the consequences now, you will have to eventually. And even Charlie Sheen, the poster boy for this type of behavior, had to learn this the hard way. Consequences, while they may suck in the moment, actually help to keep you in line and keep you on track. So it's maybe you feel sick after eating like garbage or after drinking. Well, this person over here could seemingly do these things all the time without having any harmful effects. But I choose to view this as God doesn't want you to waste your potential, because one way or another, all those bad behaviors are going to catch up to you. So the earlier you face the consequences, the better. Anyways, I would highly recommend checking out my video on the doc, and for those of you who did see the documentary, what are your biggest takeaways and thoughts on it? Next, we have a clip coming from NBA trainer Alan Stein, where he talks about how Steve Nash led the NBA in high fives, and why this is important.
Now, you're probably wondering, how could I know that Steve Nash led the NBA in high fives, fist bumps, and pats on the backside? Well, it just so happens there was a research team from UC Berkeley, And they were conducting an official study because they wanted to measure if showing signs of physical enthusiasm actually led to more wins on the court. So they hired a team of researchers to watch every minute of every NBA game and make a tally mark every time a player gave a high five, a fist bump, or a pat on the backside. Well, the Phoenix Suns, who Steve Nash played for at the time, were so enamored with this study that they hired a full-time intern to count just for Steve Nash. Just by show of hands, how many of you have ever had a crappy entry-level job before? Yeah, can you imagine if that was your very first job? Yeah, you see this guy here? Every time he touches one of these big, tall, sweaty guys, if you could please make a tally mark. In the first game that the intern counted for Steve Nash, he delivered 239 high fives, fist bumps, and pats on the backside. He was a furnace of human connection. Now, in the game of basketball, where physicality is appropriate, it has been physiologically proven that you can transfer energy to another human being through physical touch. You can indeed raise someone's game with a well-placed high five, fist bump, and pat on the backside. Just to make sure I'm clear and HR compliant, I'm not telling you guys to go patting each other on the backside when you guys go to your breakout sessions.
So, Steve Nash once had 239 high fives in a single game. Now you might be saying to yourself, oh, why does this matter? This is complete nonsense. Who cares? But just look at what Steve Nash did for the Suns, and this is of course a huge reason why he's my favorite player of all time and a huge inspiration for me as a player. It's because not only was he so special as a player, but he made everyone around him better. He turned so many of his teammates into all-stars by keeping a positive attitude and focusing on all the positives that all of his teammates were doing. He was able to lead the Suns team, who prior to him arriving were not very good. He led them to back-to-back 60-plus win seasons. And I see so many people these days who are looking back at Steve Nash's MVP seasons and saying like he didn't deserve those MVPs because his stats weren't up to par. But these people are only looking at the stats and are comparing them to the stats of players today. So when they see Shaq and Kobe's numbers from those years, whose numbers were of course way bigger, and there's an argument there maybe, but at that time I don't think like this was as controversial that Steve Nash deserved these MVP awards because of what he brought to his team. He was a true leader in every sense of the word. He essentially ran the offense that brought about modern day basketball, with high speed, shooting threes, and he made everyone around him better. As I've spoken about before, I had probably less than like a handful of great teammates, but like these teammates gave me the confidence that like I needed to play at a super high level. And I also played with some really bad, toxic teammates over the years, a lot of them actually, who created a horrible environment to be around, and honestly made me not want to be there and play the game that I love. So don't underestimate the power of positivity. It's so easy to give the people around you compliments, tell them to keep their heads up whenever they miss a shot, or even like when they have a bad day at their job. And yet so many people out there are so much quicker to put someone else down. What you don't realize though is that like doing this doesn't help you and it doesn't help the team. When you choose to uplift the people around you, everyone wins and becomes happier too, and all that positive energy becomes contagious. So the power of a high five is real and shouldn't be underestimated. Next, I want to share a really powerful clip coming from rapper Master P, and also fun fact, he was also like an incredible basketball player who made it all the way to the G League, so this guy could hoop too.
Why are you still hustling so hard? You're wealthy, right? What are you, 50?
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
I want to know.
Let me tell you what I'm doing.
Yes.
I love what I'm doing. I don't do this
Look
for
at your
money.
face change.
I love it. Like, I'm just saying, like, if I wasn't doing this, I'm done. Think about it. I have the same hustle or even more right now than I had when I was a kid. I opened my record store at 19. I know what I wanted out of life. So now I always find a problem. So when I find a problem, I find a business. That's the difference. A lot of people do it for the money. I don't do it for the money. I love it. I love the journey. This is what I love doing. So this would get me up in the morning.
I can see it.
I can't sleep at night.
Super powerful. Love that enthusiasm. So he has that same hunger that he's always had, even at 50 plus years old. And this is why I believe so strongly in finding your purpose and then working relentlessly at that thing. Once you find it, you do what you love, all of the external rewards become bonuses. And you just do that thing for pure love. This is what keeps someone like MLB pitcher Rich Hill still pitching at the age of 45, even though he could very easily call it a career and like super respectable one, but instead he chooses to go through the minors and work his way back up. It's a pure love for the game, which also just happens to be the name of the clause that Michael Jordan had instituted into contracts because he still wants to play ball in the offseason Not because he had to, but because he loves the game of basketball. Another example, Joe Flacco, who I like a lot and have like a lot of respect for as a quarterback. So he's 40 years old, years removed from a Super Bowl MVP win, and yet he still goes out there and battles every week and every season. And of course, not every game is pretty, but yet he loves the game so much. He doesn't have to keep going out there every year when the spot isn't guaranteed and he's getting booed, but yet he still works incredibly hard, and in 2023 he was rewarded for this as he won Comeback Player of the Year. And that's what I'm all about too. Yes, I won the external awards, whether as an athlete, a content creator, an author, and of course I want to get paid doing what I love, and I want this to be my full-time career. But the even bigger piece that keeps me going, year after year, even when the results aren't there, is a love for what I do. And this is what I believe makes me more genuine than everyone else out there. And I also have a true understanding of my bigger mission behind all this, and I know my purpose. Now, one bonus topic I want to talk about, just because it's currently in the spotlight and in the news, and I probably won't clip this up because I don't want to get anything taken down and I don't want my accounts to get into trouble. But if you watch this far, I want to talk a bit about vaccines and Tylenol, or Jacksines and Tylenol, because I'm still not sure if any words trigger the algorithm. So in case you didn't know by now from my earlier videos, where I used to talk about this stuff more often, and I also speak extensively about this in my book Fight Through It, because I'm someone who was adversely affected by these things and by modern medicine. So I do believe that Jacksines are dangerous and unnecessary. Just to be clear, I'm all for live and let live, so even if you believe the complete opposite of me, I'm cool with that. We should be allowed to make our own choices and do what each of us believes is best for us. I don't impose my beliefs onto you, so you don't do that to me. And this goes beyond just good or bad. So I was in fact injured by the HPV vaccine back in 2014, which almost led to me losing my life, and of course I've had severe health challenges as a result that I'm still healing from to this day. And of course there were other factors involved, such as poor medical care, early on especially, and I speak more in depth on the causes of everything that happened, I believe, in my book. So as I often say, it does take a perfect storm to get such serious illness, which tying this back into Tylenol and vaccine, whenever you see people saying things like, I took it and I didn't get autism, or I'm totally healthy. Well, as far as I see it, all of us have a cup, metaphorically speaking of course, and so when you fill that cup up with toxins, some people can handle more based on several factors, but when that cup overflows, that's when you end up with chronic disease, chronic illness, and also even acute serious illness. I am also someone who believes strongly in terrain theory versus germ theory, meaning that I don't believe that viruses or bacteria or germs cause disease, but rather it's the environment and the conditions in which your body is placed that actually create disease and illness. So, as a result of this, anything that suppresses symptoms will be harmful to the body, and those symptoms will have to emerge in other ways, and this includes both Tylenol and vaccine. A fever is a natural response by the body to toxins, and it's your body's way of trying to move them out. Same thing with diarrhea, skin reactions, etc. And also, if any of you have ever looked at the ingredients in the vaccine, you would see that they contain heavy metals and all these other super toxic ingredients. It's a whole chemical soup basically. And so taking these things suppresses your body's ability to heal on its own and to detox effectively. Now of course I could go into much more depth on this, but I don't want this to be the whole episode, so just something to think about. If you want more, I can direct you to more. If this resonates, awesome. And even if you guys disagree with me on this, I still got love for you. And my purpose isn't to divide, just to open you up to what I believe, since this has been in the news, and this is something I have strong beliefs on. So anyways, onto the sports recap, week 4 of the NFL, and the end of the MLB regular season. Let's go now. So for the biggest games and stories from NFL week 4, let's go now. So we saw the Seahawks knock off the Cardinals, in spite of the Cardinals' late game comeback. Is it time for us to start discussing Sam Darnold as being one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL? So last year we could say he had Justin Jefferson as one of his wide receivers, which of course any quarterback could look amazing with Jefferson there, and he had all these other weapons. But now he's doing it on a Seattle team who lost DK Metcalf, wasn't supposed to be that good this year, and so since the beginning of last year, Sam Darnold is 17-4 with a 103 passer rating, and the Seahawks are now 3-1. In the Dublin game, Aaron Rodgers looked incredible. He played nearly perfect and looked super comfortable in that offense, and Kenneth Gainwell had a pair of touchdowns too. Also, I said it last week and I'll say it again, Carson Wentz deserves to be a starter in the NFL. Yes, he did have some turnovers, but he also threw for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I think there should be a legitimate conversation in Minnesota if he keeps this up as to whether or not he or JJ McCarthy should be the starter there. Jackson Dart and the Giants upset the Chargers, and of course it wasn't just him because the Giants defense played incredible. Dexter Lawrence had a crazy interception. And that Giants defense pressured Herbert the whole game and forced him into turnovers. And Dart, of course, brought some life to that team and made some big plays. He definitely plays a little bit reckless and fearless. And both he and Cam Scadaboo definitely bring some swagger to that team, which is, of course, very much appreciated by the whole New York fan base. Dart had some big runs and played his role really well. Malik Neighbors, however, had a season-ending injury on that Giants turf once again. Deja vu. The undefeated Eagles took down the undefeated Bucks, who almost pulled off yet another comeback. That Eagles team was definitely the real deal, and they're definitely going to be tough to beat all year. Chiefs-Ravens, one team had to go to 1-3, and it was the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, of course, got hurt in the third quarter, but he also wasn't having his best game as he had 2 turnovers. While Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, had a monster game. He threw for 4 touchdowns. He was spreading the ball around. So can the Chiefs get hot once again? Maybe. It's crazy to see though, how such a talented team in the Ravens could be 1-3. Can they bounce back? Of course, a lot of that does depend on the severity of Lamar Jackson's injury. One major flaw of that team that we've known for a while is that team can't play well from behind because they're so reliant on a big run game. The Colts-Rams had an interesting game. I stand by the Rams as being a dark horse Super Bowl contender. Matthew Stafford has been in peak form all year, and Puka Nacua had 13 catches for 170 yards. Is he the best receiver in the NFL right now? Then, of course, we also saw the Colts' Adonai Mitchell did the one thing that you can't do as a football player, which is drop the ball before the end zone. Daniel Jones, in spite of having his first turnover of the season, still played a really solid game. One of my favorite players/personalities in the NFL, Joe Flacco, had a rough game as the Browns lost to the Lions. Now I know everyone wants to blame it on Flacco and say it's time for the rookies to go in. And I'm not here to say that Joe Flacco's been playing great. He did of course throw a bad interception, but he's also far from the only problem there. One pick came because Jerry Jeudy fell down. Those receivers are dropping every pass he throws, and the pass protection has been non-existent. Of course, Joe Flacco's never been a great athlete, so at 40 years old, if you don't give him any help and any protection, he's never going to be able to do his thing. So who knows, maybe a QB change is coming, but I definitely don't think doing that solves all the problems. And I hope that for Flacco's sake, he can bounce back. Michael Penix had a bounce back game for the Falcons, who beat the Commanders in a high-scoring game. Are the Jags for real at 3-1? They aren't really getting talked about a whole lot, but that team is 3-1 and just beat the undefeated 49ers, who had a healthy Brock Purdy back. Ashton Genty had 3 touchdowns and 155 total yards for the Raiders, as he's back to his whole Michael Myers stance, although his Raiders lost to the Bears. In the Monday night game, Tua played another really solid game, and Darren Waller, the football player turned rapper, turned back to NFL tight end, had 2 touchdowns in his first game back in 2 years. However, Tyreek Hill left with a really bad, nasty knee injury, which could possibly end his career maybe even. The Jets dropped to 0-4 in spite of Justin Fields playing a pretty solid game and having a really long, crazy rushing touchdown. Now for this week's bonus NFL segment, the game of the week, we had my favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, tie the Dallas Cowboys in the return of Micah Parsons to Dallas. Now as a Packers fan, my level of concern has gone up a little bit. So to start this year, it was looking like that team was going to run away with the division until every other team has come to life in recent weeks, and it doesn't seem so easy anymore. Credit to Dak Prescott for having 4 total touchdowns, even without CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens is looking like a legit wide receiver 1, and Dallas of course was double and triple teaming Micah Parsons all game, not allowing him to really get off. So for that Packers defense, which is supposed to be so good, to give up 40, I definitely have some concerns. On the other side of the ball, I thought Jordan Love played spectacular, and so aside from a fumble that he had, he was basically flawless. And he was going blow for blow with the Dallas offense. Romeo Doubs looked great, and without Christian Watson, so there are some awesome takeaways from the Packers offense. But also that poor clock management at the end almost cost the Packers a win. That offense was really cutting it down to the wire. So based on the way that game was going, and you also Micah Parsons make a game-saving tackle / sack, although I'm not thrilled with the outcome, I can't say that I was too upset with a tie in the end. Hey, a tie is better than a loss. Now for some baseball, MLB talk, and the 162nd game madness. So the end of the season, as we head into the playoffs starting today actually, was pretty crazy. The Cleveland Guardians had a miraculous finish to their season, as they ended up passing the Tigers, who held them by a thread just to make the playoffs. The Tigers at one point were looking like the best team in baseball, but to finish that season, no one could pitch for them. Well, the Guardians found their stride at just the right time, and Jose Ramirez might be one of the best players in baseball. No, he's not going to win the MVP, but his career is definitely going to rank with the best of them when it's all said and done. The Astros got left out of the playoffs for the first time since 2016, as they got passed by the really solid Mariners in that division. Now for a team who at one point was the best team in baseball, with a massive payroll too, the New York Mets. I'm sorry to my brother for the Mets on-field production. To go from the best record in baseball at one point, with what should have been a World Series level roster, to not make the playoffs and like to do it in that fashion, losing to the Marlins, it all just doesn't make sense. I thought that team won the trade deadline by adding to what should have been a great bullpen, adding Ty Rogers and Ryan Helsley, but both of them, mainly Helsley, had a huge disappointing second half of the season, to say the least. The Mets starters, not including the rookies, fell apart, and the team with Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and Francisco Lindor gets left out of the playoffs a year after an amazing playoff run against all odds. I don't get it. Can someone explain this to me? How does that happen? Also, shout out to the Reds for how that team finished the year, and shout out to Terry Francona, legendary manager, for getting his team to the playoffs. Anyways, my playoff predictions as of right now, I'm looking at the Yankees and Dodgers in a potential World Series repeat. The Yankees do have a tough match to start things off against the Boston Red Sox, but the Yankees lineup has been peaking at just the right time, and of course the Red Sox have some great pitchers in Garrett Crochet and Aroldis Chapman in that bullpen. Judge has been playing his best baseball though, along with Stanton, Bellinger, Grisham, Jazz Chisholm, and if Fried and Rodon could do what they're supposed to do, I would give the edge to my favorite team, the Yankees. Plus, I don't really see any other AL teams really challenging them. I mean, are the Toronto Blue Jays for real? Maybe, but then again, the Yankees almost caught them to finish the season. And in the NL, the Milwaukee Brewers have a really solid, well-rounded team. They, of course, have a great pitching staff, and then you add on to that Jackson trio, Christian Yelich playing really well. But the Dodgers have the best two-way player in all of baseball in Shohei Ohtani, along with an incredible pitching staff with Yamamoto, Kershaw, Snell, Glasnow. I just can't see anyone beating that team, but hey, it could be proven wrong. Anyways, to finish up this week's MLB talk, now that the regular season is over, we have to talk about who's the AL MVP. I think, of course, it's pretty clear that Shohei Ohtani is going to win his fourth NL MVP, but what should be the closest AL MVP race in years, who deserves it? Cal Raleigh or Aaron Judge? Cal Raleigh put up 60 home runs, a record-setting number for a catcher and a switch hitting catcher, but Aaron Judge owns just about every hitting metric in baseball, making him the best hitter in baseball outside of home runs and RBIs. And also, if you don't give it to Judge, is it the whole voter fatigue by not rewarding possibly the best hitter of all time, or at least the top 5 one? This year, he became one of only 4 players to have 450 home run seasons. Judge has a 331 average compared to Cal Raleigh's 248. Judge has a 1.145 OPS, which is insane, to Cal's 948. Judge has 137 runs compared to Cal's 110. Cal, of course, has 60 home runs compared to Judge's 53, and 125 RBIs to Judge's 114. So, knowing all that, if you are going to give it to Cal, I think you have to say it's because of how much his catching brings to the table. How much does catching take out of you? And does Cal's catcher numbers provide a significant lift to his team and pitching staff, especially since the Mariners won their division? So I'm going with Aaron Judge, but I don't think you could really go wrong either way. Both are very deserving of the MVP. Anyways, that's your sports recap for the week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's finish up the video now. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the topics. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will catch you guys next time. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding. Catch you next time. Peace.